Hey y'all, thanks for stopping in. So it looks like we have an updated border bill. This time they left the border part out. Republican senators joined Democrats to advance the $95 billion Ukraine and Israel aid bill without border provisions amid backstabbing and turmoil among GOP ranks. It came after Republicans tanked a bipartisan $118 billion bipartisan deal to beef up border security while funding Ukraine and Israel earlier this week. The Senate advanced a massive foreign aid bill to Ukraine and Israel without border security measures after Republican turmoil ultimately tanked a bipartisan deal earlier this week. Bipartisan or not, which it really wasn't, just people that have an R by their name that don't actually align with the other Republicans. And one of the biggest parts of that border deal was how it gave jurisdiction to D.C., thus trying to block Trump from being able to make any moves after he wins in 2024, if he wins, right? On Wednesday, Republicans tanked a bipartisan $118 billion bipartisan deal to beef up border security while funding Ukraine and Israel. They accused it of not going far enough to secure the border and said it would cement Biden's open border policies. The Majority Leader Chuck Schumer announced the Senate would still send money to critical allies of the U.S. through an updated $95 billion supplemental bill without the border provisions. I mean, what a jerk. These guys are more dedicated to serving other countries than they are Americans and protecting our southern border. The bill captured the necessary 60 senators need to break a filibuster and move it forward on Thursday in a 67-32 vote, but it faces an uncertain fate if it ends up passing. It would also face a hurdle in the House. And, hopefully it would get shot down, but you never know with these current Republicans in the House, right? It wasn't easy to get Senate Republicans on board as tempers flied over the tanked border deal. Senator John Thune reportedly told his GOP colleagues they need to stop being peas and just vote because the issue isn't going away and U.S. allies need help. Ukraine is not a U.S. ally. The U.S. leaders are just using Ukraine as a proxy to essentially fight Russia without declaring war. Senator Josh Hawley blamed Mitch McConnell for the dysfunction as other Republicans, including Ted Cruz and Mike Lee, call for ousting the longtime leader, which I would really like to see, honestly. I know McConnell supposedly raises a bunch of money for the party, but just loyal to people that are America first. And that's what I believe American leaders should prioritize. McConnell's problem is he doesn't talk to his members or listen to his members. He's so focused on Zelensky, and he's got bigger problems than Zelensky. Lindsey Graham said he would block the bill unless he got an agreement to insert an amendment on border security, which is a surprise. And just like clockwork, Democrats blame former President Donald Trump, who inveighed against the border deal, for pulling the strings and wrecking the chance of compromise in an election year, which makes me think that's probably why Lindsey Graham is saying what he's saying right now, rather than just being, full throttle pro-war like he typically is. President Joe Biden ripped congressional Republicans for lacking spine after they helped doom the deal that would have included $20 billion in new border enforcement funds. When President Trump came along and said he didn't want to solve the border problem, that he wanted it as a campaign issue, House Speaker Johnson obediently changed his tune, fumed Schumer. I don't think Trump actually came along and said that he wanted the border problem to remain an issue. He's always been pro building the wall, and I think that's just another one of Chuck Schumer's lies. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm leaning towards. He repeatedly connected the GOP's opposition to President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine, which is approaching its 2-year anniversary. The bill will bring up emergency supplemental appropriations to provide $60 billion to Ukraine, boost support for Israel, and provide additional funds for Taiwan, along with reconstruction aid for Gaza. Ironically, Ukraine not being an ally is getting the majority of that money. Interesting. If America fails to stand with our partners on the front lines in Europe and the Middle East, we will shred our credibility with friends in the Indo-Pacific, said Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell during floor remarks, where he also blasted Biden for steering clear of Iran's red lines and responding to the drone attack that killed 3 that's not an excuse. It's plain and simple as that. I don't care about our credibility with friends in the Indo-Pacific. Why would I care about that if my own homeland is getting invaded? Among those Republicans willing to go along with a new approach is Mark Wayne Mullen. I'd like to have the border bill on it, but if we can't pass the border bill, then we still need to do something with Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, he said. Why? Will they just explain to us why it's more important to fund those 3 countries than it is to fund our own? They're doing it completely backwards. If you can't fund any part of it, if there's only one part of it that you can fund, it should be the U.S. border. not Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. And you definitely don't leave the U.S. out and fund the other three. How is that supposed to win you votes? Like, are you guys seriously? Senator Tom Tillis is also backing the clean package without border provisions. I mean, these guys are ridiculous. Anyone that thinks there will not be a negative consequence in history over this vote needs to really study up on history, which is why I'm going to do my part to not be the part of the dark age of history, he said, calling for aid to key U.S. allies. You know, he should elaborate. Instead of telling people to do their own research, get out of here, dude. You're somebody that's elected to be a leader. Why don't you explain to me what you know? But without it being explained and me having an understanding of it and agreeing, I certainly don't agree with sending money, once again, out of our country and not protecting our own. Wrapping up, this just goes to show how Democrats, Chuck Schumer-led, prioritize these other countries over our own. They don't care about United States. They don't care about Americans. They want the destruction of America, I guess allegedly. But their actions seem to speak louder than their words. And these actions are prioritizing every other country, claiming non-allies to be allies even, and letting Americans down. And it's all for nothing, considering that once this bill gets to the House, it's going to be shot down just like all the rest of them. They're just spinning their wheels. They're getting a paycheck for working on stuff that's nonsense from the beginning. I really look forward to getting leaders in here, but I don't know if it'll ever actually happen. But getting leaders in here that spend their time properly working on bills that Americans need, that are actually reasonable, and aren't a bunch of nonsense like this border bill that literally only sent $20 billion to the United States of the $118 billion they're wanting to spend. I mean, that's nonsense. Simplify these bills, make it to where somebody can actually read it in a couple hours or an hour and simply vote on it, and you can show it to the United States people, and we could actually understand what we're reading, and we don't have to spend 2 years reading a book. So here's an idea. Write a bill that is actually a border bill that only spends money in America protecting the southern border and the northern border and all the coastal borders, frankly. Let's protect all of our borders. Let's write a bill to do that and leave everything else out of it. How about that? You guys think that's a good idea? Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And I appreciate you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.